Okay, got that going, so that's good. Looks like we've got some signal. Everyone can see what I'm doing there, so that's good. Gonna pop out my chat window. Oh my God, I can actually do, this is so cool. I can actually do, moderators on this. I could have J-Dog moderating this. Well, Chillboat already ruined everything by exposing all of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. That pain in the patootie. All right. Let's see who's here. How do I look? How do I find out who's here? So far, it's just me. All righty, well, I'll get started in just a minute. Why this thing isn't working? All right. The SSTB. Oh, the Studio Brass. Hey, what's up? What's up, Javiez? How you doing? Oh yeah, so Spitfire's releasing the Studio Brass. Do me a favor, my Discord is not working well. Can you just ping the gang and let them know, hey, Farkle Friday is starting in case anybody wants to hop over? We will get going with that. How's the, and then Xavier, how's the volume balance here? Hear my voice, and then here's the piano. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna quickly just go over to Google Drive that I have it on. Or is it in Box? Nope, it's in Box. Little surprise. Hey, Miriam, how you doing? I'm like tired today. Not in a bad way, I'm in a good mood. I think I'm just really fatigued. Yes, the Magnificent Seven, we're gonna go through that today, because that one is, that's not the Magnificent. What's up, Rob? How are you? How are you, Robert? How's it going? I'm getting excited for this, actually. I'm in a great mood. I'm just very tired because I've been, we've just been getting ready, man. It's like if you're a musician and you do any sort of like sacred music, in this case I do, yeah, that one that I just played was a Western theme that I kind of accidentally composed on an earlier Farkle Friday when I was talking about, I don't know, it was some Farkle Friday where I was talking about themes or something like that. And I've transcribed enough of Copeland and enough of, yeah, you like this? Yeah. So I transcribed Miriam, I transcribed enough Westerns and enough Copeland that I kind of know how to like do a Western theme. And so I accidentally one day in one of the Farkle Fridays wrote this theme and I was like, it's a pretty good theme. I actually have to want to flesh it out and actually and mock it up because it actually is a really good like little Western kind of like Elmer Bernstein, you know, march. And it's pretty easy. Like when I don't mean easy in the, there's certain tropes that you can do. There's certain chord progressions that fit Western. The cowboy chord is a big one where you go from the flat 7 to the 5. Wait, dun, dun. So that's the kind of stuff. Yeah, this is a good piano. Wouldn't you like to see? Once again, once you pull away the contact, it's actually funny how the tone kind of arises into the forefront. You know, Chillbot sold me on that with the emotional piano. This is the Grandeur by Native Instruments, but I grabbed one of the presets. I think it's called like Mellow Jazz or something like that. We'll be hearing that. Beautiful. I love the sound. It also helps to actually have a really good controller keyboard. Even this little $400 M Audio Hammer 88 is pretty good. It's actually got a really nice sound to it. So, you know, yeah, look, Chobot, not that I'm lumping myself in with him in this way, although we agree on a lot of things, but he and I were both very vocal on VI Control saying, guys, if you get Native Instruments complete, or even better, complete ultimate, like the amount that you can do with that is really absurd. People are like, oh, you know, this particular RC48 Verb isn't as good as this. I'm like, hey, you know what? For $500, you get it for free, and it sounds much better than a lot of other stuff. Oh, well, the Grandure's not as good as, you know, the production Grand. Well, you know what? You get 4 pianos for free, and they're actually pretty good. So there's a lot of good stuff. Alrighty, I think we got everybody here. Dude, bro, have I lost weight? Yes, I did. I lost a lot of weight. You've been gone a while, man. I've lost this weight. I lost it like 9 months ago. I lost 26, 180. I lost like 36 pounds, between 38 and 35 pounds, depending upon like, you know, how much I've been partying. But I was 226 last year, and I'm 188 right now, 189. So, and a healthy 189. It feels good. It feels very, very good. You know, the only downside is I have to kind of, you know, watch what I eat, and, you know, I can't party like I used to, but that's all right though. All right, it's 3:08. Let's get started. I want to jump in on this. I don't want to waste any more time. All right, and I am just grabbing some cues for us. So, welcome to Farkle Friday, everybody. Oh my God, I've got a good squad here. Who do I got? I got Rob, Miriam, Xaviez, and I don't know who else. But if anybody's on the Discord, just ping the VI Control and just let them know we're starting. So, Gone But Not Forgotten. This is something that I started with Michael Kamen, and what I was gonna do is every so often just pick a composer that, you know, not only is he or she passed away, because there's actually one that I want to do that is a fantastic woman composer. Not only is he or she passed away, but their influence, their craft really it brings out the aesthetic of a well-done film score or a well-done piece of music. And, you know, it's a lot of ones that people kind of forget about, hence the Gone But Not Forgotten. We tend to always talk, for example, one of the things about Michael Kamen that I like was everyone talks in the 80s. They're like, well, it's all Horner and Goldsmith and Williams, and then later on Silvestri, and then Elfman and James Newton Howard. And it's like, well, there were a lot of other guys. There was Craig Safan, and there was, you know, Michael Kamen, and there was actually Elmer Bernstein. And so I just come across finishing up some charts for Christmas. If you're a church musician and you are practicing Christian, or better yet Catholic, not better yet, but like, you know, you're pretty busy during Advent and Christmas. So, I mean, we've been doing rehearsals. I've been finishing choral charts for this concert we're doing next week. And it's all great. It's wonderful stuff. I've got this 12-person choir that sings charts that I write for, you know, full of professional and semi-pro singers. So it's like, you know, what's wrong with that? But I didn't really have it in me to do any sort of speed composing today or transcription. I'm just tired. Like, I'm just like, and I was like, you know what? I need to listen to some music today. So I thought, you know what? Let's do a Gone But Not Forgotten. I've been picking at this guy for a while, and he's so good. Elmer Bernstein, of course, Chobot promptly blows all of the, you know, things that he's known for, which ties in with a great lesson we can learn from Bernstein, which is how to kind of accidentally get typecast in Hollywood and how to fight that typecast. Because the hilarious thing about Bernstein's career is his career basically was 3 to 5 arcs where he was known as the dude. You were like the Western dude. Then he was like the comedy dude. Then he was like this dude. And every single time he's like, yeah, but while I was being known as that dude, I was getting like a Grammy nomination for this score or a Golden Globe for this. And so, you know, it's like how to stay versatile while you're getting typecast, because when you are a really good composer, versatility, you know, everyone says don't be versatile when you're composing, and to get known and to find projects that you like. I do respect that idea, but a really good composer ideally is versatile, because if they understand the vocabulary, they're kind of like, well, I can do a big action score. I can do a delicate character score. You know, it's like, it's just different words. Some people are better than others at certain things, but it's just, I'm using different words in different sentences. Anyways, So let's jump in here. Let's jump into Elmer Bernstein. I wrote some notes about him, which is kind of cool to like get a feel for him. And I'm not going to talk too much about him. I'm going to jump right in because why not? You know, let me do this. Let me be really nice here, and I'll actually pop the thing up a little bit so you can see what's going on. There we go. So let me spread this a little bit. So Elmer Bernstein. Bernstein. He was a contemporary of probably Jerry Goldsmith. He did a lot of work about the same time as Jerry. And he died about 10 years after Jerry, I think. I think Jerry died in 1994. Elmer was born to a Jewish family in New York City, and he studied under Aaron Copland and Roger Sessions. So as you are learning who great composers of the 20th century are, many of whom did score films. For example, Aaron Copland did The Red Pony. Don't know if Roger Sessions did. You will find there are a couple of names that keep on floating out and about. And in America, there were about a half dozen American composers who studied under a woman named Nadia Boulanger. And the most famous of which was Aaron Copland, but there were also guys like Roger Sessions and Walter Piston, a couple others that were American composers. And so they kind of were the American gurus that a lot of other composers that are film composers studied under. So funny enough, one of the reasons that I think that Elmer Bernstein, who is not related to Lenny Bernstein, although they were friends, they were not related, but they were great friends. One of the benefits of studying under Aaron, I think, is that you had a big number of influences that show up in his Western scores, which are part of the reason why I think Elmer first got tagged as the Western dude, because he basically had that dialogue or that language that he learned from Aaron, which Aaron Copland had like done in things like Billy the Kid and Fanfare for the Common Man and Appalachian Spring, which were very kind of associated with the American West. So Elmer was, 1922 to 2004. He was writing film as early as the 50s. Let me see if I can dig out his, I have his little Wikipedia thing, which I'm going to listen to, or I'm going to reference because honestly, he has so many scores. It's kind of ridiculous. Let me just get Elmer Bernstein on Wikipedia. I'm going to jump right in with the listening session because why not? There we go. So you can see that he was scoring in television as early as the 50s. Johnny Staccato and Riverboat were the ones that kind of come to mind. But really, he hit his stride in the 60s and 70s, which then once he got to the 70s, he was doing so many films. You can see how many he did, that he started moving into the 80s and just kind of pretty much did films. So I mean, this is his body of works. It's pretty impressive. You can see that he was easily doing between 2 and 4 films a year, from pretty much 1960 to pretty much like 1990, God, he got even more. I'm looking, he was to like 5 in 1993 with Mad Dog and Glory and stuff. Funny enough, the way his career developed, and I know the result of this, but I didn't study enough of the film music history to know how he got into it. But what apparently happens in Hollywood is that you get known as the person, and you're able to do a certain thing. I don't know why. Maybe it's from acting, where it's like, oh, that man is the bad guy. He plays bad guys really well. That woman plays the femme fatale Black Widow really well. Not the character from the Avengers movie. So what happened with Bernstein, which was kind of funny, was he would land a really high-profile movie, do an amazing score on it, and then get identified as the dude for that genre, and then do a bunch of scores in that genre and would get known around Hollywood as like, oh, he's the Western guy. And it was funny because while it was happening, he, who was a very well-trained composer, was also doing lots of other varieties of films and things like that. And somehow he was able to keep on reinventing himself. So like originally he, hey John, what's going on? I just saw Hey Mike from Bitman. What's up, John? How are you? By the way, my Jack and Diet. It's so good. It is very needed today. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to listen to a couple things. One is listen to a couple of his big typecast areas and be like, okay, well, this is when he was like clearly just being constantly funneled into this particular movie, and then throw a couple of cast against type film scores, which are funny enough the ones that he often got nominated for an Academy Award for. And then also just, I don't know, play along with it, grab some of his vocabulary. Some of the things about Bernstein that I find really great to listen to. So, that kind of thing. So we'll first start with the first genre he got kind of typecast in. He got known as the big American Western score guy. These are my words, they're not official. But he ended up getting, obviously he got nominated for Academy Award, I believe, or a Golden Globe for The Magnificent Seven. Funny enough, he did not win for that. He only won one Academy Award, and it was for, it was a random movie. It was, where's his awards? Here we go. He won an Academy Award. He received 14 nominations. His only one was for Thoroughly Modern Millie. I don't know. But of course, he won all sorts of, Golden Globes for To Kill a Mockingbird and things like that. So the first set of scores that he kind of got known for was the Western scores, which honestly, we might as well just start with the big Western, Magnificent Seven. So a couple of things to listen to as we're listening to this. So actually, we'll start off by just playing it because so right off the bat, here's Elmer's, list of albums. It's kind of ridiculous. These are just the ones that are on Spotify. I have a couple others tucked away in my private collection. But let's see if I can find the main theme of Magnificent Seven. If not, I think I have it on. Funny enough, might not have it. There it is. Is that what it is? Oh, no. This is the remake of it. Okay. Well, let's start then with this. Let me boot this one up here. So I'm not necessarily saying that The Magnificent Seven was the first film score that he did. It's the one that really, obviously he was really, really famous for. But if you look at the one that he was receiving a lot of exposure for, it was the Hallelujah Trail. And if you look, when he started, he kind of did, he did The Man with the Golden Arm, which had Frank Sinatra in it, and was actually a dark character study about a gambler with a heroin addiction, the Golden Arm. But the Ten Commandments, he was doing biblical. He was around during all of the stuff going on, the biblical epic, or during the whole McCarthyism era. But if you can see, the ones that he got nailed for was The Magnificent Seven, which set the stage for him to do. This is the other thing about Bernstein. I don't know how and I don't know why, but it's a good lesson to learn. He must have been very easy and fun to work with, because what would happen is he would clearly make a relationship with either an actor or a producer and a director. And that producer, actor, director would keep on pulling him in, because he did like a bunch of John Wayne films. And then later on, he did a bunch of like SNL, SCTV films. Like he was doing National Lampoon's Animal House and Stripes and Ghostbusters. Well, that's the John Landis, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray group. So there must have been something going on there, which is a great example of you never know, who's going to drag you along. I mean, the director that I worked on the psychological thriller that I did last year's just tagged me for 2 more films for next year. So, and they're cool. They're gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with these films. So, there's that. So look, you can see The Magnificent Seven set the stage for him to do things like The Comancheros, which also has John Wayne, and The Hallelujah Trail. Those are the 3 that I've seen. And then of course, The Great Escape, which in a sense is kind of like got a little Western to it. So enough of that. Let's jump on in and listen to the main title of The Magnificent Seven, because it's awesome. Here we go. If you've never studied Copland, this stuff is all in Copland's Third Symphony. It's all in his four dance suites from Rodeo. The hoedown and all that stuff. But here's the first lesson we're going to take from him. Let's talk about themes. A prime, right? With variation in the accompaniment. This is not difficult, composers. Look at the modulation across the cymbal hit. It won't modulate. This is so good. I'm gonna refresh my beverage because this is so good. Cowboy chord, Miriam, the flat 7 to 5. All right. Boom. All right, that's just a fun piece. So here's one of the reasons I first, let me just give you a little story about how I got turned on to Elmer Bernstein. He's one of those composers that I was always like, when I finally figured out what he had written, I was like, oh, it's like, there's a band that happened to me with. When I grew up, I kept on hearing all these great songs, and I'd be like, oh, I love that group. Oh, I love that group. Oh, I love that group. And then all of a sudden I found out one day that it was all the same group, and it was Queen. Because it's like, oh, I love We Will Rock You. It's such an anthemic power ballad, right? Oh my God, I love, Who Wants to Live Forever. It's just a heart-rending song. Oh my God, I love Killer Queen. It's like this bizarre David Bowie thing. Oh my God, I love Another One Bites the Dust. It's like this like punk kind of like new age thing. So it's this band with this incredible versatility. And it took me a while to understand that was all the same band because they were so freaking expansive and versatile, right? So that's how I felt with Elmer Bernstein. I go through high school and I play along with certain scores, and I'd be like, oh, I really like the score, and I play another score. I really like the score. And then I got through college and I was studying a lot of Williams because he's the gateway for a lot of people my age. Like, oh, I want to be Williams. I want to be Williams. It's like that's our age if you're in their 40s. And then when I got to graduate school, I can't remember what happened, but I was studying Copland. That must have been it. I must have been studying Copland, and it was when I first started to really transcribe. I don't mean like, when I transcribed in high school, it was like I'd play along on the piano and I could definitely hear the voicings, but I didn't really know how to orchestrate stuff. So I was just like I was certainly playing correct things. There was not just chords and stuff. It was when I first started to be like, all right, I'm gonna write out what's going on. And I can't remember, but I ended up getting a score to Kill a Mockingbird, which for whatever reason I was, well, we'll find out why I'm really into that. Kraken and ginger ale, very nice. That's a rum highball here in the U.S. It's if you do a whiskey ginger ale with a lime twist, that is a variation of that's one of the ways you can do a highball. So that's a rum highball, which sounds really good actually. So anyways, I got To Kill a Mockingbird, and I was like, oh, I really like this guy, Elmer Bernstein. Wonder what else he's done. And then I started popping open his, this is back when there was enough internet that I could do this, and I started looking at his other scores, and I was like, what? He did Ghostbusters, he did Animal House, he did The Great Escape, he did To Kill a Mockingbird, he did, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's so versatile, right? So, I started transcribing a lot of his stuff. It's that's what it was. Sorry, I knew I had to, it's one of those things where I had to get it. And by the way, there's the Copland chord, which is my favorite chord. It is the root. It's a major 7, but you take the third and you make it a second. There's actually 1,000 ways to think about it, but Copland uses it in Appalachian Spring. And Williams uses it in Superman, and Williams uses it in Indiana Jones. There it is. So, it's a bump. There's the chord. There's your theory for the day. There's the Copland chord. So here's what I got away from Elmer Bernstein. And this first score this is one of the earlier ones that I kind of started to transcribe. I was like, he's really, really efficient with his orchestration. And I was like, I didn't understand it, but if you go back and you listen, he really only has like 3 things going on there. It's beautifully orchestrated, but he's not busy. Like James Horner is busy when he orchestrates. If you listen to like Krull, there's lots like, or Star Trek II, the Wrath of Khan main theme, there's like, he's got all these things happening. There's lots of color and wash, which is funny because he likes Prokofiev, and Prokofiev is, I've always thought, a very lean composer, whatever. But if you listen, Bernstein is all about, one of the things I first got from him, and of course he can also write a great theme, but he knows how to efficiently have the theme be heard, have the supporting harmony be done without too much busyness, and have the rhythms evoke whatever he wants without making it too blurry. So let's go listen again, just look at the first minute because it's awesome. Okay, right there. Bum, bum, bum. He just makes sure everything's singing. There's nothing fighting against that rhythm. Bum, 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 right? But he's got all the right orchestral stacks. He's not doubling things at the unison for octave or for volume. He's putting each one in its own register so that the total frequency is nice and big. With a yes, John, a lot like Jerry. I feel like Elmer Bernstein and Jerry Goldsmith are very kindred spirits. Maybe because they both worked in television. Because in television, you were always fighting for resources. You know, I've seen some of Jerry's scores on YouTube where they have the sketches, and it's like one French horn, a harp, you know, like 7 strings, and it's like, hey, you got to score Gunsmoke with this. Like, good luck, you know, like, let me know how it turns out, right? So listen to this, all right? Here he is. Bum, bum. Right there. That pedal point, bum, 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 is just the violas and I think the French horns. And then he has one line. What he does is he accents it with little xylophone hits here and there, but it's basically strings and let me take a listen again. Oh, it's a Copland thing. It's a violins and flutes. So look, Miriam, he's only got 2 things going. There it is. So that's literally all he's got going on there. Functionally, he's got one pedal point at this E flat, and then he goes. That's not a lot. That's this. That's all this is, right? And okay, yes, there's some octave doublings like he does that with the xylophone because that's in the xylophone's register. But he's not going bum bum. He's not going. He's not doing these big warm chords, which is what Horner would do. Horner would be like, you know, he would go, and the strings would go, and then he would do it in octaves. He would do these huge triadic stacks, right? Like now you're all here. This is freaking that's Star Trek 2 right there, right? Right. I mean, right? That's what, like, look at how much thickness there is there. That's Horner. I've got 3, you know, brass doing this. I've got the horns moving in chords. Then you've got, now granted, I understand it's the genre, it's the style, but you hear this economy of orchestration later on when he still has a big budget. Like he still does it for Stripes, he still does it. So you, whatever, I'm not doing it right, but I don't want to, let's get back into it. You can totally hear it. And then because of the leanness of the orchestration, you can hear everything crystal clear. It's violas and French horn, that's it. Now watch, look, right here. When he does the tuning, everything in the same rhythm. Everything is rhythmically locked in. He's very efficient, he doesn't fight the rhythms. Look, only 2 things going on. The melody and octaves, ba-da-da-da-da-da, and then everything else is going bum, dun, 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 dun. He has no counterline. He has no like ostinato going like, you know, that he's just literally just having 2 things. Yeah. And oh my God, those 2D chord hits are so great. They're just, I mean, it's, how can you not smile when you hear this? So that's the first thing I took away from Elmer is his orchestration. Yes, there's a lot of harmonic stuff you can take away from him, but honestly, if you really want to go to the source, you go to Copland. He's doing a great job, but you're like, oh, I wonder what he's doing there. Well, you go get Copland's 3rd Symphony and go get Copland's 4 dance suites from Rodeo. And, you know, so yeah, have I forgotten that I was meant to be working on Gone But Not Forgotten? Wait, oh yeah, well, I'm working on it. I'm just talking about what makes Elmer a very effective composer. So that's a very cool thing. So that's the first one there. Right? And then, okay, so you get that. Let's go real fast and just grab a random one from the training montage. Let's see what Bernstein did with the training montage. Then we'll skip on to the next one. Then we'll do the Hallelujah Trail overture because this is pretty good too. Once again, very lean. He does a great job in this of blending pseudo Mexican / Hispanic, you know, like not bolero rhythms, but you know what I'm saying, like the what is it? What's the not bolero? What's the Mexican rhythm? I know it, I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, there's the dun dun dun, like the mariachi rhythms. Everything very lean. There's your strings in their high register doing the violin stuff. There's very little of the other thing, very little flourishes, everything is warm. Basil Polidorus borrowed this idea in Lonesome Dove. Okay, yes, we're in a Western, so of course it's gonna be the solo mariachi trumpet, right? Because you gotta do that, because that's if you're doing this kind of thing. By the way, this harmonically is stupid easy. It is literally 1 4 5, and every once in a while there's the 5 of 5. Right, this is, when we learn all the sophisticated harmony, it's very, very cool, but bear in mind that only may apply to like X% of the score. Again, it's back in the 50s, but man, like this is like 1 4 5. I mean, this is not hard. Hey Tony, how you doing, man? So yeah, this is a great score. Now, let's see him, now he's getting pigeonholed. So now it's like, all right, well, you know how to do Western. So let's listen to 2 other little bits here. Here's the Hallelujah Trail of the overture, and this is actually a totally different. So now he's typecast. My name's Elmer Bernstein, and I do Westerns. Whoa. Let's talk about temp love. Back in the 50s, back in the 60s, you still had temp love. Dun, 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 bum, 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 bum. Right, this is like your classic John Sousa march. I mean, this is not, you know, difficult stuff. Oh, absolutely, Rob. You can totally hear it. It's like, you can tell the producer was like, we love what you did for the Magnificent Seven. Can you do that again, but different? It's, all right, man, sure. So, you know, let's... Okay, this is the one I want to... I've never been temped by myself. I really want to. It's going to be awesome. So good. And notice once again, taking segments of the theme and passing them through different instruments. Also, there's something else that I want to do with Farkle Friday on, which is downbeats. Notice how he creates energy, but all you have to do is harmonically shift your harmonic hits to off the downbeat. You know, okay, that's a classic cowboy chord, okay? But notice what he does. He goes, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. So he does, ba-da-dum, he does his harmonies on the and of the one or on the two. So it's like, ba-da-dum, see how like by shifting the harmonies to off the downbeat, which is a thing that Bernstein does a lot, it creates this cool little push-pull energy. And you know, Rob, you were mentioning earlier, like, oh, I love how these rich chords hit and they have such a sense of like bigness. I'm like, I think a lot of that is that. He's taking the same harmonies that he would have played on the downbeat. And boy, if this isn't like a classic thing that trailer music is really kind of like messed with, everything's in the downbeat, like ba-da-da-da-ba-ba-da-ga-ba-da-ga-ba-bum, bum. Whatever happens if you do what John Williams does, who took this lesson, and in the Harry Potter theme, he goes, instead of going, he goes, the bass, the pizzicato bass goes, so he goes boom, ba dun dun da 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 da. So that's one of the cool things that Bernstein did to allow what is a very lean orchestration, because it's just a harmonic stack, and he gets some energy out of it by kind of shifting around a little bit. And yes, lest we all piss and moan that there's frickin' temp love everywhere, dude, everybody dealt with it. Like everybody could hear that Hallelujah Trail, Elmer Bernstein got temped by his own score to the Magnificent Seven. You can hear that in about 4 seconds. You're like, yep, he sure did. Because he was known as the dude. He was known as the Western dude. We'll play one more of this because it's a lot of fun. Then we're gonna move on to going against type. So that's his era where he was doing that. And it's phenomenal in that genre. Where's the one that I love? Let me find the, so he did, yeah, here's the Comancheros, which is a John Wayne thing. You can hear that old MGM studio sound. He found a way, he went to the minor chord there. Right back to Let Up. Oh, it's great, man. With classic Westerns, this is all pioneered by the Big Country, which was done by Hugo Friedhoff. I don't know. It's great stuff. Miriam, you gotta listen to Aaron Copland. Go listen to Four Dances from Rodeo and Third Symphony and Billy the Kid. Just like, this is all that stuff. And then, of course, listen to Elmer. Now, I'm gonna pause for a second here. So, and by the way, like, lest you think, like, this is the thing to also remember too, Hollywood always has and always will be a business, the music business. And they were in the business of entertainment. And this was a time period where there was a lot of uncertainty in politics. I mean, the McCarthyism just ended. There's a lot of, we're in the 60s here, so we're dealing with Vietnam conflict. Entertainment can be an escape from some of the difficulties of life. We're seeing it here in the US right now with a lot of divisiveness about how our government is doing things, and things like the Avengers, where you've got true heroes kind of like battling, is really obviously taking a lot of our necessity to, we need to kind of, you know, be entertained and vent a little bit. Not vent, but, you know, just kind of like get the tension out. So these Westerns were great genres that Hollywood made a lot of money off of and made a lot of satisfied customers with. It was like good guys versus bad guys, and, you know, the Americans, and, you know, so there's nothing wrong with this. It's like, this is the business, and, you know, you got to follow where the oh, Laurie, what's up? Laurie, book 4 in EIS now, right? Matt is, one of my students just started book 3, and my other student is halfway through book 2. So, you know, he's rocking it out. But here's the second part I got from Bernstein. When I talk about the lean orchestration, the second part I got was from one of these cues, because I was transcribing something. This was like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little longer, maybe more like 10, who knows? But I was like, oh, let me find it. It's the right one. Yep, this is it. I was like, oh, when I listen to this, let's go back with the lean orchestration. Bernstein was very much about like, let me get the effective line. Book 5, my God, Laurie, that's awesome. You're with Charmy, right? Laurie, you're with Charmy? You're cooking along, man. You're gonna be a graduate before I know it. Damn, I better get my game up. So listen to this cue. It's so cool because it gets the second thing that I got out of Bernstein. Remind me, by the way, Rob or Miriam or somebody to talk about his snare drums, because that's the third cool thing. So I was like, oh, Bernstein likes to write lines. He doesn't write chords. He likes to think of things like lines. And okay, he's getting a lot out of a little, because he's got like 2 or 3 lines that are making a lot of energy, and he's not doing big chordal stacks. And I was like, oh, I like this. I don't know how to write like this. So I started basically being like, well, what else does he do stuff like this? You know, this is, again, that TV, this is straight out of television from that era. And the other thing I realized is orchestrally, I'm like, he loves woodwinds. I've never heard cues that are, because I'm listening to like Horner and Goldsmith. And Goldsmith will do woodwinds, but they're always like stacked upon other things, you know, or they're just completely solo. I'd never heard a cue where I was like, oh, you picked a bass clarinet, a flute, and a harp, and you're gonna go for 30 seconds with that, and you're gonna make it work. I was like, this is cool. I've never heard this before. And like you said, Rob, it's great lines. So then I started looking at some other stuff. Let me look at the chat. I'm gonna look at the chat window as I do this. Charmy's the bee's knees. It's right, your thought Prokofiev is lean. That didn't sound right. No, Prokofiev is lean. He's very lean, unless he wants to not be lean. But no, Miriam, Prokofiev is actually a very, very lean orchestral composer. There are times where he chooses to be huge, but he's not. Richard Strauss is not lean. Richard Strauss is big all the time. He's just, he's somehow managed to afford a 108-person orchestra. Like, you can definitely, Miriam, tell me of spots where Prokofiev is not lean and Prokofiev is making a big sound. For example, the opening chordal stack of the Montagues versus Capulets, where he has a bitonal thing with like the brass. Absolutely. But if you listen to like Peter and the Wolf, or you listen to like his like Visions Fugitive, or his Romeo and Juliet ballet, like all over the place. It's like super lean, where he's like, here's the melody, here's the basic accompaniment just to like support it, you know? I mean, that's my take, you know, but I'm like, oh, I never think of, I study Prokofiev for very lean, effective orchestration. I study Stravinsky for lean orchestration, especially his neoclassical stuff. I try to study. Yeah, exactly, Miriam. I'm sorry. Miriam said, okay, I'm thinking of Knight's Dance. Wait, the Knight's Dance. Is that from Romeo and Juliet? Or is that from the Scythian Suite? The Scythian Suite is like a weird, it's awesome. It's amazing. That's not typical Prokofiev. It's just being very, very strange. I try to study Strauss for incredibly dense contrapuntal orchestral writing. He still escapes me. I still don't know how he does the things he does. One of my students brought it in once. Like, here's this passage from like this Strauss piece. And I was like, I have no idea what this guy is doing. I was like, it sounds great. I was like, I have no idea what he's doing. So now I'm taken away from this guy, Bernstein, that he likes lines, and he's able to get a lot with a couple of lines. And Miriam, tell me where the Knight's Dance is from, please, because I want to listen to it at some point. Not now, but I mean, like, oh, that's from Romeo and Juliet, right? Or are you thinking of Tchaikovsky? Dance of the Knights? Tell me where that's from. It's from one of his ballets. So now I'm like getting into his stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, what is he doing? And I got into To Kill a Mockingbird. And this is one of the transcriptions that I did, because I wanted to be like, dude, how is he getting this good stuff out of, and this I transcribed, God, must have been like 10 years ago. All right, hold on, I'm gonna take a break for a second, just be like, I just want to see where Dance of the Nights is from. Yeah, okay, it's in Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, okay. I can't remember off the top of my head. Well, I'm gonna go off to a Farkle moment here. Let's see what this is. No, that's the Montagues and Capulets. That's completely lean. Look, you can hear it. Look, strings and octaves. Yeah, that's the Montagues and Capulets. Look. Triad, octave, triad, octave, triad, octave, triad. And then the thing which is it's an arpeggiation of the octave. This is totally lean. This is complete. This in my world. All right, let me show you. Hold on. So now we're gonna get into dense. Strauss. Oh, what's the one? Let me look it up real fast. Was it Don Quixote? Yeah, this right here. Let me find the spot. Yeah, okay, here you go. We're like 50 seconds in, and this is what Strauss is doing. Ready? Whoops. We're dealing with imitation? Okay, that's a little more Prokofiev. You know who's not lean? Oh yeah. Oh, I know who's not lean. Fucking Mahler. Mahler's not lean. All right, I'll tell you what, go listen to like, I don't know, Mahler's 6th or something like that, or his 5th, and be like, okay, that's not lean. That's where Mahler was like, I'm trying to have counterpoint upon counterpoint upon counterpoint. And Mahler even said like, my symphony must encase the whole universe. Like he was like humongous. And again, that's just opinion, but here we go. Okay, let's compare this, Miriam, to the Prokofiev thing. There's three counterpoint, right? Look at this. There's like 3 counterpoints. I don't even know what key he's in right now. He's got like bitonal. He's got, I think he's bitonal at one point. That's not lean. Yeah. There you go. So there you go. So well, and you know why? We're all going off on a Farkle Friday tangent because Don Quixote, remember the whole point of Don Quixote was he was this slightly insane knight errant on a quest to like tilting at windmills. So when Strauss did this tone poem, it was like he was trying to create the idea of like, this guy's not all there in reality. Like his tonality is reality. He's like, everything's a little blurred. He's got thoughts flitting around. He's not really in the same world as us. So anyways, now that we've established that I have a definition of Prokofiev as lean versus not lean, that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly, Xavier. Like you're not even locking on a melody. It's just more of like just textures, like little flickers of like contrapuntal lines. It's like, whereas that Montague and Capulets, which is a great piece, it's so good that Emerson, Lake and Palmer lifted it. You can clearly hear the main thing, the other thing, and everything else. You can clearly hear, the melody, the stacks of harmony, the rhythms are very, very, obvious. And I don't mean obvious in a negative way, like very effective. Now back to Bernstein. So I picked up To Kill a Mockingbird and I watched the movie, and I won't lie to you, I actually cried during the movie because it was so good. It wasn't that it was so good, it was that it was so powerful. And I even think about it like tearing up right now. It's just such a beautiful film. It's funny because apparently Harper Lee wrote a sequel, and then like it made Atticus Finch out to be this like racist. And I was like, oh, don't do that. Just make it awesome. But also the score was so effective. So I transcribed it to see what was going on because I wanted to see, we're gonna play 2 cues, my 2 favorite cues from it. And I want you to see how effective he is with such a lean setup. So this is my transcription. Here's the piano. And then there's a flute, harp. And I was pretty proud of myself. It's the first time I actually started to hear orchestral stuff. There's this chord that's there. And I was like, oh, it's violas, but there's something else. And I put down accordion and a question mark. And then later on, a friend of mine sent me the score. And in fact, it was an accordion. Like he actually doubled the accordion with the violas. It was really crazy. And you can see how he's able to do a complete orchestral score on a 4-staff reduction. And we'll do this, and then I'm going to show you one that I love, which was when Jem and Scout go to the jail to protect not Boo Radley, the guy who was accused of murder, because it's all woodwinds. And Rob, this is what we're talking about. But listen to this cue and just see. I think this cue might be the extended version, in which case there's about a 16-bar chunk in the middle that I didn't transcribe because my version was the abridged one from the film. But this is all about, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to see it. I'm not gonna tell you anything about it. How brave is that? 8 bars of a solo piano line. This GP is, I didn't transcribe this, unfortunately. But listen, flute and clarinets doing arpeggiation. This is not the stuff you're used to hearing if you're from that era. So lean, so beautiful. And then, look, piano doubled with vibes, and I believe celeste. These are not colors you usually hear. Yeah, I'm with you, Miriam. This is so tasteful. Not the epic's not tasteful, but it's so intimate. Now wait, listen to when the warmth comes in. Ready? Here's where I can transcribe. The harp. And look, the strings pulsing on the second beat. See how he's avoiding the rhythm? So intimate. Then that wasn't quite right. It was pretty close. Okay, now he gets into the B section. Now check it out. Trombones and strings to warm everything up. Ready? And the violins in octaves. Pull back, a little brief retardando there. Now check the rearm. That second time it's a B to a C sharp major, or now I'd say a D flat. Whoops, I missed that. Sorry, it was 12 years ago. And then the tag out. You can hear the accordion there. Now that's a theme. That's a theme, right? And that's like nothing you've ever heard from other Farkle Friars. We talk about like, well, it's close to Rudy, but it's not Rudy. But I'm with Rob. He and I were saying how like there's a Bernstein-Goldsmith kind of commonality. Something about the leanness of their orchestration, the effectiveness of their writing. But man, is that like, yeah, you know what? All the greats could do this. James Newton Howard could do this. Silvestri could definitely do this. Newman could do this, but here's the other thing. Newman's getting typecast as well, I believe. It's a combination. I think Newman chooses to write in that style because the dude's got craft. I always throw out the good German. I'm like, if you think Newman can't write traditional orchestra, you'll listen to the good German. That is like old school, like Miklos Rosa, like Bernard Herrmann, like huge, you know, he can totally do it. He just likes to write that kind of intimate, lean, kind of like, almost like not mechanistic, but like clockwork kind of stuff, you know? You know, I think, actually, you know who can do this, actually, is two people, Kevin Koska and Conrad Pope. And I know because I've heard them both do it on a score. So, but those are the reason they're, I don't know this. I believe one of the reasons they're orchestrators is that their compositional talents are not necessarily in vogue at the top Hollywood level, but their craft is such that they're very much in demand as an orchestrator, which is a shame because I have two of Conrad Pope's scores. I have a While You Sleep and the other one that he did, and they're amazing. They're like this kind of thing. Yeah, Daniel James, you can totally do this. So now we've got this, but the lines, look at how elegant they are. He doesn't, look here on the harp. He does this, okay, he's got that flute there with the legato, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Then the harp, instead of going like, he just lets it ring out, right? Whoops. Because he's thinking about, and if you look, he's thinking about the placement of all the lines. Very, very cool. So this is a very warm thing. Now, here's the cue that I love. Rob, this is for you. This is the lynch mob cue. Look at the setup of this. It's a bassoon into a clarinet into, I think the bassoon stays here, then piano, pizzicato strings and a bassoon, and then a clarinet. And there's like a flute. There's a bassoon and a Cole flute 15 VB, which is probably a piccolo. Knowing now what this was 12 years ago. Knowing what I know now, I know what I heard. It's like 5 instruments. It's crazy. Let me find it. Lynch mob. How Stravinsky is that? There's. Oh, real fast, I'm gonna restart this. Look at this point, the bassoon drops into the bass clef. So now you got a clarinet and a bassoon couple in a film cue. There's only 2 instruments playing, and it's a clarinet and a bassoon under the text. Oh, I'm gonna bitch for a second. People get all like, you can't do music under dialogue. You know, you got to drop out because dialogue's more important. I'm like, yeah, you can. If you have the guts and this craft to do this, because this is happening underneath Gem and Scout talking. But Bernstein is putting the clarinet and the bassoon registers around those 2 kids' tessiture, their register. So guess what? If you're a good enough composer that you can write for single line instruments, you can still have music playing through a cue. Hey, there's an idea, but you can't frickin' have stacks of like symphobia. You have to actually, you know, listen to, let's listen. I'll get all riled up. Call and response. Beautiful. And then here's this little drum. They're breaking out now. They're sneaking out of their room. Look at how delicate it is. These are kids. These are not like spies. These are kids going down the street to see this guy who's in the jail cell. Look at how much space there is. So much space. Oh, there's a vibes hitting on the downbeat. I missed that when I did it 12 years ago, whatever it was. And then here. God, I would love to work on a film like this. I would love to get this as a reference. And then the French horn pedaling. Just a single French horn. Miriam, we're talking about lean, not a chord, single note. Whoops, there's a string chord there at the end. Missed that too. And then this is where the bad guys come. Mike Vert is so lean. He's so lean, Adam. He's so lean. Who's a lean composer? What the hell key is that? Must be bitonal. What, this? Let's take a look. Let's have some EIS analysis here. I have G sharp diminished 7th. So what does that mean? It's G Phrygian. It's G sharp Phrygian. Look. That's just G Phrygian. That's what it is, Rob. Because look, there's the bottom is, right? So there's your one, your minor second, your third, your fourth, your minor, your fifth. Oh wait. It's I know what it is. I know what it is in EIS. It's an altered scale 5. Yeah, it's a Phrygian. It's an altered Phrygian. Because look, everything is Phrygian except the fifth is flatted. Oh, wait a second. Oh God, Robert, I know what it is. It's Locrian. It's A major, but you start on the 7th. Dude. All right, this might be the, remember, I transcribed this 12 years ago. This might be the first time I've ever seen a Locrian cue. Like, that's really cool. That's definitely Locrian, but dude, nobody uses Locrian. What? That's super creepy. I'm gonna have to remember that for my upcoming film, which I can't tell you the title yet, but it's gonna be so good. Rob knows what it is. The title's gonna be awesome. So Locrian mode, there you go. But so now we've got Bernstein, and man, I'm all in on this guy at this point in time. It says I transcribed in 2015, but it's not. It's, oh yeah, 2007. Wow, it was 11 years ago I transcribed that. I like to think I got a little bit better. I wasn't too far off. I got pretty. So then he continued to write and all that stuff, but his next kind of typecast that he got hit, and I don't know what the first film is that did it, but he got tagged into doing screwball comedies. And let's see what the ones are that jumped out that really got it. Because if you notice all the way up through the 70s, yeah, well, not one of the things about woodwinds, why it's great to score woodwinds, each instrument has such character and such color that the lines stand out as individuals more. If those were a violin, violin 1 and violin 2, it would kind of blur together as just a bunch of harmonies. Well, that's okay, Adam, if you don't believe in bitonality, because bitonality believes in you. That's what. So when you have woodwinds, you can hear the strength of each line, and then it becomes this real clash, where when it's like strings, it's like, oh, you know, it's a harmony. It's kind of functioning together. The woodwinds help to create the strength of the line. So check it out. Right about here in the 70s, he got tagged. Because look, he's still doing like the Magnificent Seven Ride Again, and he was doing all sorts of other stuff. But then he started getting these ones, Slapshot, Animal House. And this was the next big sprint that he had as a composer, which was he started getting these screwball comedies. And I think this ties in with what I was saying before about National Lampoon's Animal House, Meatballs, Slapshot, Airplane, The Blues Brothers. What's the commonality here? They were all SNL and that crew. John Landis, Saturday Night Live, SCTV. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, John Landis, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis. So he must have, you know, been tied in with those guys. And once again, got known as the dude. Funny enough, he was doing things like Saturn III, which is a sci-fi horror film, and Heavy Metal, which was a really cool score, actually. So he had a long association at this point with the SNL people, and I don't know why, but we're better for it. Because if you look at the ones I just listed, Animal House, Meatballs, Slapshot, Airplane, The Blues Brothers, Stripes with Bill Murray, Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, Ghostbusters, Spies Like Us, The Three Amigos. I mean, this is really good stuff. So let's jump in and have some fun with this stuff. Let me grab Animal House, because it's kind of absurd how good his stuff is. So again, this is as I was trying to find his stuff that he did. Oh, is Animal House in here? Let me see if I can find it. I might start with Stripes, because this is what I want to talk about with the next orchestration, which was cool. He uses snare drums really well. Like, the dude can write a march. I don't know why. It might have been because of all the westerns he was doing, but you kind of heard his like, oh yeah, Saturn III, Rob, right? Look, I grew up on crappy sci-fi movies like Cherry 2000 and the destruction of Metal Gear Solid, the Metal Gear Storm, the destruction of Jared Sin, and Saturn III. I loved all those cheesy sci-fi things. Outland, all that stuff. That's how I knew about Goldsmith. I knew him from all the cheesy sci-fi films he did. Outland and Explorers and all that stuff. That's how I found out about him. So check it out. This is Stripes with Bill Murray. So now we're in the screwball comedy, era. But also he's still got this. In this case, he's still got. We didn't do The Great Escape. We should do The Great Escape. We'll finish with that. But here's him kind of channeling his like military march that he got from things like The Great Escape and like westerns, but also with like screwball comedy. So. This is a great movie. So look. Yeah, so Miriam, he's totally channeling the Magnificent Seven. He's got his language, right? But he's like got this, Rob said it best, there's some sort of like goofy, fun, melodic shape to it. Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-da. That just like, it just feels fun. Like he just gets fun so well. And I don't know what it is, but it was one of these composers where I'm like, oh, that's how you write for snare drum. Like he just gets those marches. Yes, we all know John Williams' march, the bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. But John Williams' marches are more about the brass. He's more about those little kind of like staccato brass stuff. Like Bernstein gets the snare. He gets how to make the snare work as a march and for like film stuff. And it's just, how can you not smile? You're like, and there's also a bass drum in there because it's more like a, well, this is like a parade march. Look, there's the piccolos and harmonies. This is what you do, a military thing, right? Once again, the lean, just like, it's just the groove and like the single melodies in octaves. Look, there's no harmony there, it was just. Look, just three things, just the oomph on the bass and the two-part harmonies in the piccolos and the percussion doing its march. This is what I mean, Miriam, I keep coming back to this whole like lean orchestration. Like he's getting a lot out of a little right there. It's literally like a oompa, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-da-da-da, two-part harmony, and then the snare drum. It's like 4 staves of music. Oh, it's like nothing. So that's kind of a cool thing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, he does a lot of the screwball comedy stuff, but I really need to go to, well, first we gotta go to Animal House, because it's the other one that, so at this point, he's got this kind of jaunty childhood thing. And again, remember, Stripes had Bill Murray, Animal House did not have Bill Murray. Did he do Caddyshack? Did Bernstein, did Elmer do, no. Who did Caddyshack? Johnny Mandel, really? All right, whatever. Yeah, it was. Okay, cool. All right, that's what that is. So yeah, Adam, that's what I kept on getting at with Bernstein, was like he was so effective at being like, I don't need to have big stacks of harmony unless I want them for the effect. I don't need to support it because I'm writing stuff that is very effective and giving me the harmonic information, and it's also very, very catchy. So like, here's Animal House, which is the same kind of concept. Here's the overture for that. Now remember, this takes place at a college, so of course it's gonna have that kind of like hallowed halls kind of thing. But just wait till the screwball stuff kicks in. Once again, versatility. I mean, this could be an absolute pomp and circumstance Elgar march. This is so much fun. How can you not smile when you hear this stuff? guitar. Sorry. I'll be right back. I have to hit the facilities. I have to pull a Vernon actually hit the facilities. You guys enjoy this for a sec. Where's the? Well, we'll keep on listening because there's a beautiful little romance cue that comes in. I'm gonna skip ahead. I want to get to the zany stuff. So by the way, this is also totally lifting from Elgar, Edward Elgar, who did all these kind of marches and kind of stuff. So look, let's get back to Kraft and you know, yeah, total British hymn, kind of Vaughan Williams stuff. Here it is. This is bad guy music. So this also, look, if there's another thing we take away from this, and I keep on saying this, which is expand your vocabulary through the greats. Like, because if you've transcribed and studied, oh, this is the pledge hazing. You can tell it's got the old like organum, like kind of like Roman kind of centurion kind of sound. If you've transcribed and done your work on this, then you can plug right in and write a cue like this, and you have versatility. People are always like, why don't you study classical music? Because you know what? You don't always write trailer music. You better have to be able to write this. You better be able to write like, oh, can you do like sort of like hymn? Oh yeah, I can do it. You know, it'll sound a lot like Elgar. Okay, thank you. We need to sound like Elgar. Did I hear a march? Oh God, this is shades of Ghostbusters here. This is when Flounders. There's some sort of flamming going on. There must be from the recording, whatever. Once again, Bernstein knows how to write for snare drum. Very elegant, very lean and quick. He also has discipline. Like here, he's able to sit on this like little tremolo pedal for like a good 5 or 6 seconds. Have these building chords. It's a lot of discipline. So much color, Rob, right? Yeah, right there. Look at that, just like flute, xylophone, and like, and there's something bassoon, and I think pit, but they're going in different directions. Like one's coming down, one's coming up. That's pretty cool. Oh my God, it's so good. Space, all the little. You get nuts while you know something screwy is happening. Oh yeah. Oh, Cedric, good. Welcome here, buddy. I didn't see you. Yeah, I'm so glad you like this. Muted trumpets. And look at the back and forth. Dun 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 dun. And by the way, let's just get non-tonal for a sec. When you're doing those kind of back and forths and you're in film music, you don't have to worry about being in a key for those things. It's like. So especially if you're passing back and forth like that, you can have a pattern up here and a pattern down here. It's obviously gonna have a context, but if you listen to what I did like, let's go back to dissonance from 2 weeks ago. There's a dissonant cluster, and then I had something, a couple octaves down here, and I just did like a minor second motion. Right? Yes, McAllen, Cedric. I'm buying a thing of McAllen next week for the concert. So now watch what I do. Now that's a 2 bar, that's a 2 gesture pattern. Dun, dun, dun. I am just going to have this proceed in its own logic, and this proceeded its own logic. That's a perfectly legitimate comedy cue, right? What did I do? I just had this little structure, and I just moved the structure down in chromatics, and I just went up in chromatics here. Look at how lean that is. Boy, here's the takeaway from this Farkle Friday, which is like lean orchestration. And lean orchestration is not about single notes. It's about the minimum you need to do to get the message across. And that right there got sneaky across. Right? That would be like the whole, they open the door and they look in. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. So let's listen to that again, because Bernstein does it better than I did it. You know what? It might have been Bernstein who's like, the hardest thing to score is comedy. It's so hard to score. Ron Jones does it very well too, because and we'll see what I consider to be his best comedy score ever coming up in a sec, which Adam has been hinting at. We'll get to it, Adam. All right, so you get that, and this is gonna be awesome. Let's get to the one we want to talk about. The definitive screwball comedy score. Airplane, come on, let's get after it. Let's get after it. Now, real fast. At this, like, there's two ways to score comedy. Well, I'm sure there's 1,000 ways. One way is the Carl Stalling, Scott Bradley method, right? Which is the Looney Tunes / Tom and Jerry. And that's where you Mickey Mouse everything, right? Everything is hit. When Jerry blinks, there's a little xylophone that goes, bring, bring, you know, kind of stuff. Totally effective, ton of fun, virtuosic orchestration. For a lean orchestration, you need a lean composition though. Yes, you need to have a crystal clear idea of what your main thing is, your other thing, and everything else is. And you need to be able to have your main thing be strong enough that you should be able to play it by itself. I believe, right? You should, like, your main thing should be so strong that if you only had one instrument, it could carry 30 seconds of a scene or 45 seconds of a scene with it, you know? And Elmer Bernstein's darn close because he's able to carry scenes with like 2 instruments, which is awesome. So, there's 2 ways to score comedies. One is you Mickey Mouse everything, and that's the Disney model from the 9 Old Men way back, you know, and the Disney got it from like Carl Stalling, who did Looney Tunes, and Scott Bradley, who did Tom and Jerry, who are, the orchestration is amazing there. The second is to play against type, right? Which is to play straight. And here's the funny thing, because Bernstein had done dramas, he could write drama music. But if you map drama onto a screwball comedy, it's hysterical. So what Bernstein got known for was like, you should write this like Airplane is a spoof of the 70s disaster movies. The Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno, Airport 77. These were all these disaster movies that was just hot in the 70s. That was a thing. So they literally were like, you need to basically write it like it's a real disaster film, but Airplane is a screwball comedy. And the end result is, I found out about this because I studied with Ira Newborn when I was doing film scoring, and he did The Naked Gun. And he did the same thing. He was a jazzer, he's a New York jazzer, and he was like, okay, I do the Naked Gun thing. And he was like, yeah, I picked this up from like listening to Airplane or he's like, he said Elmer, he's like, Bernie, he had some name for him. He's like, Bernie taught this to me, blah, blah, blah. But if you listen, and if you've never seen Airplane, you need to go see Airplane. It's so good. It's 70s, but it's to this day, Rob, I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. It's so relevant that it shows up in the Family Guy during the Star Wars spoof. It's still so relevant. Like there's a moment where I was watching the Star Wars knockoff, whatever the first one was, and there was a moment where all of a sudden there's a reference to Airplane, and I was watching it with my wife, and I was like, is that the thing? She's like, oh yeah, it's the thing. I was like, oh, that's awesome. You know, I just want you to know, we're all counting on you here. All right, let's take a listen. So first of all, the opening, well, I'm gonna do the opening of the scene. I'm not gonna play the music for it. You need to see the opening because it's just, oh God, I'm already smiling. Yeah, all right, this is it. Miriam, if you haven't seen this movie, I'm not singling you out, but I know you are learning about these previous generation composers and stuff. This movie is hysterical. So it came out in 1978, 3 years after Jaws and Close Encounters and 1 year after Star Wars. Adam, looks like I'm feeling wrong Friday to quit doing amphetamines. Oh, I'm already laughing. It's so cheesy. I mean, God bless you, Bernstein, Elmer. That's perfect. and he nails. And then the over-dramatic oh my God, it's hysterical. Like, how can you not? It's so like, it's not hamming it up. It's just 110% committed. Yeah, exactly. It's so ridiculous. It's like, no, we're doing this. We're gonna do this, you know, like. So then here's the main theme, which is hysterical because it's again that like over the top 70s kind of like Towering Inferno disaster film thing. And then here's the main theme. I mean, it's so ridiculous. God, this is so good. This Kentucky Fried Movie, it's like, there it is. Snare drum. It's so needlessly dramatic. But he's on a pedal. That was a 1 to a 4. Look at how simple this is. Pedal points. Like, Elmer's not harmonically moving a lot. He's like 1 to 4, 1 to 4. This is great. 5-1, 5-1. C minor. Oh my God, there's an accordion in this too. Okay, apparently that's something else that Bernstein does. He does accordions apparently, because that was in there. There's an accordion in there. Why would you do an accordion? Or read? Yeah, it's totally, Miriam, it's just so much fun. Like, how can you not have fun? And let me see if I can find the, oh yeah. So like, here's an example of, but we're seeing the trend of Elmer. He's really good about space and allowing his orchestra to stop and have like moments. You'll hear like, I gotta find something. There are these things that he does where it's like, bum, 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 bum. This is like a very 70s thing. You hear it all the time, like Star Trek and like the Bionic Woman and stuff, where it's like, Joe Harnell does that, where it's like, bum, ba-da-da. You know, it's, oh, yeah, Brodus said it reminds me of John Powell's in animated movie scores. John Powell's and Harry Gregson Williams, absolutely. That's how you know those two cats are the real deal. Not just because they're good composers, because they studied the classics before them. You listen to Chicken Run. Chicken Run is a direct lift in the best possible way from The Great Escape. It's them doing a spoof of The Great Escape. And it's brilliant because they're doing their own take on it, the whole kazoo thing. But if you play it harmonically, you're like, oh my God, you guys totally studied Elmer Bernstein's score and got the feel of it and then kind of put it in. And Bolt does it too, by John Powell. Bolt does like over-the-top spy music really well. So, which is awesome. Now we got to go to this one. Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that I think of when you were talking. Like, I don't think of Narnia when I think of like Harry Gregson Williams. I think of like, when Harry Gregson Williams really stretched himself and was like doing the thing, I think of Chicken Run. This is for Harry Gregson Williams. And I think of Sinbad, The Voyage of the Seven Seas, where he was like clearly listening to Korngold, like Captain Blood and the Seahawk. And he was like, oh, okay, this is what it means to do a swashbuckling movie, which gets into me. I've got to do a Farkle Friday on pirate movies because I'm like, not pirate, but like sea movies. Because people were like, oh, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm like, it's okay. It's not bad. But I'm like, I don't know, man. Listen to Sinbad by Harry Gregson Williams. That's a freaking amazing score. And then go listen to The Seahawk by Korngold. And you'd be like, oh my God, that is, you know. No, and Narnia is fine. Look, Narnia is Harry Gregson Williams channeling Lord of the Rings. The problem with that is that Lord of the Rings is a lot of really long, slow chords. There's not a whole lot you can do with it. So, you know, he does a good job with it. But when you start with long, slow chords and not these effective orchestral gestures, how do you, you know, Jason and the Argonauts. That was Herman. That was Bernie, right? That and Sinbad and the Voyage of the Seven. Jason and the Argonauts was definitely Bernie Herman because of the famous skeleton scene. I remember transcribing that. And he also did a Sinbad one as well, Bernie Herman. We got to do a Bernard Herman one. First, let's listen to Fighting Girls from Airplane because this is hysterical. Yeah, Wallace and Gromit scores, totally. They're like in that British feel, yeah. Here we go. This is it. It's so 70s. But that snare drum, that snare drum. This is straight out of like 70s TV. You've heard this in Bionic Woman and $6 Million Man. Oh, dissonance in this. This is another classic dissonance. Now, real fast, pop quiz for you guys. I'm gonna answer Mary's question. Chime in with what scene is that in the movie? Because it says Fighting Girls. It's so hysterical when you see what it is, because it sounds like a 70s Kirk versus Spock, Star Trek fight. Miriam, I'm analyzing Bernie Herman's North by Northwest score. It's terrifying. It's for a podcast. Was the one that goes dun, 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 dun. That one. It's the one that's the it's the like the habanero rhythm or something like that, where it's like it's like a Spanish dance or something like that. Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great. It's not terrifying. Bernard Herrmann he's brilliant. He's awesome. But he has his patterns, he has his things that he does. He tends to build large structures that are very lush, but he tends to move them like planing. He's not really thinking about tonality. He tends to do stuff like, he'll just build a structure, he'll go like this. So that's an E flat minor with the 7th in the bass, and he'll just move it down a step and move it up a step. He does that in Fahrenheit 451. He'll do a lot of that stuff. I've done a couple of library cues in the style of Herrmann. I did one that was very much a knockoff of his Scene d'amour from Vertigo, and it's you gotta work through it, but it's doable. I'm taking nothing away from him. He's like one of my favorite dudes. Like Bernie Herrmann and Jerry Goldsmith are my two guys here. A seventh in the chord? I don't know. So real fast, back when they needed music to make. Yeah, Xavier's was like, this is when they needed music. Brodix said the dissonances work so well. They do. They're very kind of gritty and grimy. This is back when they needed music to make movies scary because CGI wasn't a thing. It's also because sound design wasn't where it was. Sound design has taken over a lot of the sonic spectrum. Rob and I were talking about this. It's not a bad thing, but it's true. Back then, they didn't have the ability to quickly generate really high quality sound effects at an immense volume. I mean, nowadays you can create sound effects for a movie you can create decent sound effects for an entire movie in like a week. Decent. You can create amazing sound effects with a team of 4 or 5 guys in a month. Well, a month, they're still color balancing and stuff. So think about it, the music was carrying stuff because the sound effects were not as advanced to be able to suck up portions of the sonic spectrum, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the evolution of it. But as sound design has become more and more truly amazing, and man, good sound design. Look, let's talk about Ben Burt. Let's talk about those cats. Yeah, I know very little about sound design. I do some of it for video games, but I know some of the greats. So, you have to get a director who's willing to say, I'll trust the composer to cover the frequency spectrum and not do sound, design kind of thing. So you have to find the directors that like that, Brodus said, I really appreciate modern movies with purely orchestral scores. Oh, I do. Bro, I do. No, I do. There's no I do. I do. It's great. I also love scores that are hybrid. I just love scores that are just smartly written. Brian Tyler, it's so funny because he's gotten these huge scores now. He has this, unlimited budget to hire. But man, my favorite scores of his are still the one where he was like a poor struggling composer and he's like, I could afford like a cello and a guitar and I gotta make a feature. Like Six String Samurai is like that. It's like a cello, guitar, a rock band. And like Frailty is kind of similar. It's like he actually has a budget for an orchestra, but it's not like that much. Brian Tyler's really good. Like, it makes me sad that he's not able to stretch himself creatively like I think he did early in his career, because I really like his early stuff. And his later stuff, I'm like, like what is it with the not the Avatar? There's one score he did. Oh, it was Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. It's just walls of taikos and like octaves. It's fine. It's the business. But man, Six String Samurai, Frailty, Children of Dune. It's great stuff, man. It's great stuff. He's a great musician, a great composer. But he's doing very well for himself. Anyways, I appreciate modern movies with purely orchestral scores. I do too. I just want them smartly done. Adam, it's bad if it makes up for a lack of chops. Adam, are you saying it's bad if sound design is covering a lack of chops? Because I do agree with that. And I feel like, for example, a score like Finding Nemo, or even better, WALL-E, is a great example of Thomas Newman clearly working with the sound design team and finding his spot to build his vibe and doing it effectively. I feel that's a great example, because there's a ton of sound effects in Pixar movies, right? That's how I take it, I feel like some of the Transformers movies are bad examples of that, where there's some amazing sound design and the music under it is like, you're not thinking about this. You're just kind of like layering, you're just temping stuff in. That's my take. That's my take on it. All right, let me get back to this one, because this is, come on, you can't not listen to this. Oh, nobody told me. The Fighting Girls, where's it from? What scene is it in the movie? Rob, you should know. And by the way, let's listen to the drama of this. Dude, Bernstein is really nailing the snare in this, man. These are all like snare pieces. But the dramatic, notice, by the way, the power of not a chord, but of lines and outline chords. Da 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 da, 1 1 2 3 1. You know what I mean? Check the link. What link? I don't see that. Adam, you're right. Yeah, Adam, I feel the same way. Yeah, exactly. Oh, did Cedric ping me on Discord? I don't know. I'm on. Okay, it's the scene in the film. Let's see if I can find it. It's so funny. Let me see if I can find it. It's so funny. I'm just like drinking hard now. Elmer Airplane. So, yeah, bro, dude, this is, so this is where they're spoofing the whole, like, I met her in a rough bar. It was a rough town. People can get hurt. And in your typical disaster movie or like Casablanca movie, right? It's like, punching, two rough and tumble wharf rats. That's it, Cedric, you got it, buddy. So this is it in the movie.
No wonder you're upset. She's lovely.
We're gonna watch this. Is great.
And a darling.
Oh, the love theme.
Supple, pouting breasts, firm thighs. It's a shame you two don't get along.
Yes, I know. Things used to be different.
And this is a classic, like, vintage golden age love cue, right?
It was during the war.
Full screen. Okay, here we go.
I was in the Air Force, stationed in Drambuie off the Barbary Coast.
Stationed in Drambuie.
I used to hang out at the Magumbo Bar. It was a rough place, the seediest dive on the wharf, populated with every reject and cutthroat from Bombay to Calcutta. It was worse than Detroit.
Detroit? There's a running gag about Detroit. This kind of stuff. You're like, really?
The mood in the place was downright ugly. You wouldn't walk in there unless you knew how to use your fists. You could count on a fight breaking out almost every night.
Notice he's hitting the beats, the physical beats. Two Girl Scouts. And she hit the camera. They hit the camera. Look right here. Right here. As she comes back, as the one on the left comes back, they hit the camera. Watch. It's so budget. And they're all ignoring her. Oh man, that is the stuff. I guess, you know what? This may never make it to the light of day because of all the fair use problems. Oh, yeah, that Mickey Mouse thing. But by the way, let's first, how great is that? I mean, like, it's so silly. And they're all just smoking while they're like, have this like brawl. But you'll notice, here's another example. When you do two things, when you find the pacing of an action scene, and when you don't have walls of music, when you create rests, you can maneuver. Look what I said Bernstein did. He's able to maneuver things so they're not on the downbeat. He's able to maneuver his hits so they Mickey Mouse the punches. And it's silly, but A, it's a skill, and B, when the scene needs it, like in a spoof, you become the hero of the day, right? And let me tell you something. That film that I did last year, Mind Games or Mind Rage, whatever I did last year, there was one scene where I did a Mickey Mouse. It was where this guy was coming out, and it's actually a psychological thriller. But this dude was accusing this dude and bringing the cops to him, so this dude was gonna mess him up. He was doing one of these hit, you know, and I actually needed to sting those hits. I needed to and I did the exact same concept. It was more Goldsmith. It was like, where it was like the piano was like, right? You know, kind of this thing like, the bum dun, and because I was doing that where there's lots of silence, I was able to hit the hit points. So it wasn't just like, and if you do that, it blurs the impact of the music. So it's an effective technique. It's got to be done tastefully nowadays because it's been so spoofed, you know. But man, Cedric, we're doing that. You know what? Over the holidays, we're doing a rabbit shared movie watching of Airplane. We're doing that, Cedric. It's going. It's happening. We're doing it. Adam, I hope I don't get a copyright claim with this, but if I do, whatever. It was worth it, man. And the sound effects, Rob, right? They're all lifted from that 70s. At the time, there was probably actually tape reels of it, right? There was like the 20th Century Fox storage. Wasn't that what it was? There was like a storage of 20th Century Fox that you would lift because they had the Falcon call that was in every TV show. But yeah, it's and y'all saw it when the girl, the lady hit the camera. The camera it was great. It was fantastic. All right, I gotta get back in it. I'm getting off on a tangent here. But so we've got the idea that Bernstein is now doing the screwball comedies, which is great. And we've already seen two great film scores, actually three now. So a little bit of Stripes, a little bit of National Lampoon's Animal House. And was that planned where it hit the camera? Probably not. But you know what? I've seen this happen in films. I've not done too many features, but I've seen it enough times to know that a lot of times errors creep in, but you've finished production, it passed under the radar, you just got to get going. You see continuity experts talk about it all the time. Oh, in this scene, she had her pocketbook, and then she doesn't have it, and then she has it again. It's like, what are you gonna do? You know, you got to get the movie out, right? So kind of thing. I'm gonna finish up with a couple more movies, and then we're gonna wrap up because I gotta get ready. I actually have to go play a mass at 7 o'clock. So keep on drinking. So the last one is, now we've moved into the 80s. And we moved into the score that is probably my favorite in terms of the jaunty, which is another screwball comedy tied into SNL. You guys know that one. I just got the score. Just came last month. So good. It's fantastic. It is Elmer at his quirky finest. Let's see if I can dig it up. I think I have it here on my... And what's great about this is he was able to blend two things. He was able to blend the jaunty silliness that was the Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis thing, right? Together with the spooky, creepy poltergeist feel. I wonder if there's actually, hold on a second here. I wonder if the album is actually on here. Here's the soundtrack. You don't want that. There's the score of the remake. Sorry. Nope. Gotta use mine. this is a great example of also why you study your theory and especially jazz theory, because that opening lick, whoops, sorry, is actually stacked triads moving. And if you study classical theory, they'd be like, you can't do that, that's parallel fifths. You study jazz theory, you're like, oh yeah, that's just 3-part harmony, it's fine. You totally do it. And you get this great little jaunty lick. I mean, it's just a great little feel. So let's dig this out, listen to a little bit of this. Now, Bernstein is still doing his lean orchestration where when he wants to get big, he gets big. But he also channels a lot of Debussy in this. He channels a lot of like nuage, the clouds, whatever that piece is that Debussy does, where there's this kind of very lean kind of string, and I'll play you a piece that I licked. That stuff, that's right from Debussy, from the Nocturnes. Yes, Nocturnes. He's doubling the strings with a theremin here. So cool. Let me drink more. You rock, Cedric. It's totally nuage. I'm gonna quickly mute myself while I make the drink. Let me get to the main theme here. There it is. So this is the jaunty. Jaunty, you know what? Rob, was it you who said there's a jauntiness to one of his earlier things? And I was like, yeah, he nails jaunty really well. It must have been Stripes. Another Bill Murray vehicle. Let's go back and listen to this again. It's so cool. The muted trumpets. Wait for it. Stop. Sorry. A little pause. Dun dun dun. And the winds, Rob. The winds doubling an octave above, right? And then the Bernstein likes his winds, man. He likes his winds. It's just, it's like a pseudo Elfman thing, isn't it? It's like kind of Elfman-y. Notice also, once you've established, and Bernstein does this, you know, once you've established a pattern, especially in the lower root tones, you can really do anything up above, because this becomes an ostinato. And once the ostinato happens, it becomes basically background. So what he's doing is, right, he gets this. He's doing something like that. He's doing something like that, where he's got these minor thirds. He's just going down the scale, or he's just going down minor seconds, you know what I mean? Like chromatics, you know? it sounds fine. It sounds fine. You have to know, once you stop trying to do chord progressions, not in general, I'm saying you're in a cue, you're moving around, you're getting some progressions, you're trying to develop something, and all of a sudden you get into this little pocket where you've got this little ostinato groove, right? You know? Maybe you got something like that going on. It's not the best ostinato, but I've got something going on with my left hand. Now the right hand can just move in patterns that is just as long as they're coherent to the listener, they don't have to be tonal. Because your left hand is telling the listener, oh, we're sitting here for a while. And above it becomes decorations of color. So here's an ostinato. I mean, obviously you have to use a little bit of taste. That wasn't the best taste. Let me try it. Let me, there you go. Oh, this is harder than I thought. Yeah. So that's something that you can kind of do. Yeah, it separates into two parts, which is, by the way, why you write it out. Because can you imagine trying to play that on a DAW? Well, you can do it. I have to go like this with the left hand. And then I have to go. It's fine, and I do that if I have to do something like that. But I would rather be reading from a Sibelius file or a PDF where I've actually written it out than trying to like figure it out while I'm playing it. Like I could tell, I'm like, oh, I'm doing minor thirds that are going down by minor seconds. I get that's what I'm doing, but it's easier for me to read it, you know, and that way, I don't know, if I'm replaying it over and over again and I forget what I was doing, it's still written on the page. This is why I like to sketch first. But yeah, you're right, Rob. It's like the right hand separates itself and becomes its own thing. You know, and then that makes life really easy. So Adam, going back to the whole joke about there is no bitonality, there really is no bitonality. But these are some of the ways that you can kind of like start to blur what the left hand is doing and the right hand is doing. Kind of keep. Now you can be bitonal. You can do bitonal 6/4 chords where you're doing stuff like this. You know, where it's like you can do stuff like this. Give me a sec here. I'm gonna voice this out. Like I'm actually. Give me a sec. You can do something where you do something like this. Where I'm actually truly voicing this hand in a different bitonal context, but that's like, that hurts my brain to do. So let's get back to the Ghostbusters. And let's say again, yeah, Rob, this is in your world here. Let's get dissonant, baby. Dissonance. Adam, let's get some dissonance. Hey, once again, let's get back to how efficient he is. This lick is just the lick. He's decorating it with increasingly interesting orchestration doublings. Why is my mouse starting to get all funky? Who's downloading? You're gonna be pissed. You're gonna be pissed, Miriam. I'm gonna really throw the thing down. I hung out with Danny Elfman in New York for about 5 minutes and chatted with him personally. When I say personally, and I say face to face, I mean I was here, Danny was here, and Steve Bartek was there. And I hung out and chatted with him about one of his orchestral pieces for about 5 minutes, and then he went on. So, I don't know, man. Seeing him at Wembley, it's like I shook his hand, talked to him about his French horn voicing. So, I don't know if, you know, I'm not cuts it anymore. No. It was Nieselman's. No, Miriam, what it was NYU. You had the ability to get rehearsal tickets for a season for all the orchestras. So it was like $25 for this orchestra, and I got one for the American Composer Orchestra. And they did the coolest concert. It was Danny Elfman doing Serenade of Schizophrenia, and then this other dude who wrote this concerto for 2 guitars, and one of them was Stuart Copeland from The Police. So we all went to the rehearsal, which was Saturday morning or Friday morning, whatever it was. And there was no one there. It was like me, another name drop. It was me, Ronan Landa, and Austin Wintry was there. So it was John Boyd. You guys know Austin Wintry because, you know, he and I went to, well, he was an undergrad at the time. But so we were all there, but there was no one there because it was a rehearsal. So we were like, you know, like 15 rows back. So we were hearing like the orchestra do Danny's concerto piece. The Serenade of Schizophrenia. And it was so cool because Danny would like get up after the cue and be like, hey, can I get the violist to do this? And can you guys give me a little bit more staccato? Like his ear is phenomenal. Is he as socially awkward as he seems? No, I think he's just a little shy. So, well, that could be socially awkward. Socially awkward is like, to me, whenever I think of socially awkward, it's like, I think of like, you don't know how to interact with people at all, so you just say things that are completely inappropriate. When I think of shy, I think of, you know how to interact with people, but you're afraid you'll offend them, so you don't want to say anything. You know what I mean? Like that's how I differentiate. So I feel like he's shy, which is funny because he was a lead man for Oingo Boingo, which is like, and when he gets up on stage and sings, it's like balls to the wall, like let's get out, you know. But anyways, so what happened was, when Napoleon Dynamite's socially awkward, exactly said it. So here's what happened. So he was coming at Danny Elfman's ear is amazing. I mean, like he's sitting here listening to stuff, and he's got all this busy stuff going on, and he's like, oh yeah, bassoons, can you do blah, blah, blah? And, you know, I was like, dude, your ear is good. But in between breaks, people would come up and kind of like, you know, oh, Danny, I loved your Batman score. Me and Ronan and a couple other guys were like, fuck this shit. Like, we looked back and Steve Bartek was behind us and he had the entire score. And we were like, and no one was talking to Steve. So we went back to Steve and we were like, dude, can we look at the score? We're like NYU film scoring students. And he was like, oh yeah, man. Cause he was like all excited. We were like, hey man, I loved your orchestration for Batman. And he was like, oh yeah, let me show you how we do the brass voicings for this. And he was like pulling back all the curtain. He's like, oh, this is how Danny and I do the brass voicings for Batman. And like, here's what it is. And we're all like, you know, taking notes and like, oh, this is how you voice the French horns. This is, you know, he's showing us all this crazy stuff. And then he's like, hey, I gotta go talk with Danny. You wanna go say hi to him? And I'm like, yeah. So then like Steve brought us up and we kind of said hi. And we just talked for a couple minutes and Danny was very, very shy, but he was very nice. And we're like, oh, you know, Mr. Elfman, at the time was Mr. Elfman. I was like, you know, hey, just big fan, love the piece, super cool. He's like, oh, thanks. And asked him a couple questions about how his projects are going and stuff like, oh, how are your projects going in LA? And you know, anything exciting? He's like, oh, you know, he was very, you know, oh, it's just the usual, just I got things going on. We talked for about like 2 minutes, but he was very nice and kind of very, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to say thanks again for letting us come sit in on this. And he really didn't know what was going on because, you know, he was what I mean by that, I'm not saying he was stoned. I'm saying like, he didn't understand that like we were film scoring students that had this kind of, this little pass. So he was like, oh, I'm really glad you made it. You know, hey, I'm glad you got to hear it. And, you know, thanks for the kind words kind of thing. Like very, very cool dude. But anyways, that's all it was. But the cooler thing was I got to see the score with Steve Bartek. And Steve was like, you want to see this cool thing? He was like showing me stuff that Danny would do. He's like, here's how I get that sound. And I was like, oh. So I picked up a couple of tricks from Steve Bartek for that. So if I ever need to do like dark Batman-y kind of stuff, like I've got a couple of tricks I can pull out that are like, you know, in that world. Of course, now I have the Batman score, so I've got all the stuff. All right. Anyways, sorry, I'm all over the place. But anyways, that was a bit of a sick brag. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys and girls. Let's get back to this thing because this is awesome. And we're gonna listen to one more cue by this. We're gonna finish with Cape Fear. Man. There, that's the modulation, Robbie, you're talking about. It's super smooth, super smooth. More woodwinds, man, I'm telling you, he loves his woodwinds. Yeah, I think they're just brute force transpositions. Is that what you mean? Oh, you mean like trombone slides? This is back when a lot of the composers were incorporating synths into their stuff. And so a lot of the stuff might be layered synths. All right, let me get this. There probably were some long portamentos and stuff. Is my mouse dying? All right, let's try the. Oh, this is him writing love themes. He's great at those, but like we've all heard love themes before. Let me find the. This is when. This is when Rick Moranis getting chased by the Zool dog. You remember the Zool dog? Let me guess. Gozer worshippers. You never studied. This movie is so quotable. There's the Elfman thing. My recording is I grabbed it from somewhere. I'm pretty sure illegally. It's like mono. It's like. I am the gatekeeper. Rob, I'm the keymaster. Oh God, he can milk the love theme too. Yeah, Cedric, over the holidays, after my concert next week, I'm gonna reward myself. We're gonna do a rabbit thing. I think Airplane and Ghost, we should do an Elmer Bernstein rabbit. We'll do Airplane and Ghostbusters. I can't stop giggling. It'll be great. This has a late romantic, like kind of like a Rachmaninoff violin concerto kind of thing, or like a violin duet. By the way, right there, boy, there's a. That's a really cool trick that he did. It's really romantic. I don't mean romantic in the emotional sense. I'm talking like 19th century, but it's a cool thing. He was like, and the piano's doing its typical figuration, all this kind of stuff. And he goes from the, let's say we're in A. He goes from the tonic, and he just brute force. This is something you can do when you're a jazz guy. If you're in classical music and you wanted to go from the 1 to the minor 3, you would do the 5 of the minor 3. Remember, the 5 is always, 5 is always the thing. The problem is that the 5 of the minor 3 is a half step down, and so you then get these parallel fifths. So classical music gets all, excuse my French, they get all butthurt. They're all like, oh, you got parallel fifths, you can't do it. But if you're a jazz guy, you're like, whatever, dude, just do it. And you can just write that quickly, and it sounds great. So what it is, it's a 1, which is the A. And then you do A, go down a half step to the 5 of the 3. So I'm in the A, I go down to the G sharp dominant, right? So you very easily get to the 3 that way. But you have to have that jazz mindset of like, I don't care if I hear parallel fifths. I just need to get to the 3. We're gonna hear the roots, and that's gonna get us going, And that's a great little trick, So there's that, and then. Go into that. But yeah, he nails it right there. Obviously, it's very romantic in the 19th century sense, but it's also highly, highly emotional. Yeah, this is a very Rachmaninoff-y kind of thing, or a Liszt thing. Let's do a Farkle Friday on the lift, only if I can do a couple. It's so silly, but it's so perfect in the movie. Like, Elmer Bernstein's taste was so, so good. Let me see if I can find the big marshmallow, and then we'll finish up with the last. Ooh, because I have about 10 more minutes. Watch one more of this cue, then we'll finish with Adam's favorite, which we want to finish with, and Rob was saying the same thing. So now, here's where Bernstein really does a good job. It's got to be scary, but it's got to be funny. So that's kind of scary. Oh, that bit that was we just listened to was a bit screechy, Miriam. That's when I believe. Let me go back and check real fast. Well, I believe I know what it is. Was it here? Where's that violin bit? I thought it was Dana disappears. Oh, it's information on Zool. Is it this? I know what is happening here. I'll tell you why it's getting screechy, Miriam. Because it's so cool. Where was it? Ray, what did you do? This scene, Miriam, with the chase by the bear, is where Rick Moranis is running from the Zool dog and he smashes into the window of the highfalutin restaurant and there is this music playing. And as he's doing it, they're getting distracted because he's like, let me in, let me in. But you can't hear him through the window. So Bernstein notated it for them to get a little funky with their tonation to represent that they're like getting a little bit distracted by this weird dude slamming against the window. Right here. Yeah. That's the whole reason he did that, was to, yeah, it's diegetic. Yeah, at that point it's in there. And let's get to the big marshmallow. Ray, what did you do, Ray? I couldn't help myself. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's not that hard what he's doing. A lot of times Bernstein is doing these kind of like 4 to 6 note ostinatos that he's just kind of repeating bum, 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 bum. And he hits the tonic to get you started, and then he kind of moves away from it. It's not that hard. You saw it in To Kill a Mockingbird. He would like have these little pedal points where he's like establishing a, look, same key. Once you hit that pedal point in the lower, you can do other stuff above it and it sounds kind of dissonant. Somehow he makes it scary, but silly scary. Right? Like you're not like really terrified like an Alien where you're like, this is scary. You're like, this is kind of silly. But it's scary silly. Dun, dun. Tonic, leaving to a new tonic. Oh, Rob, did you actually do the Ghostbusters tour? That's awesome. Miriam, what I said before about Lena orchestration. He does the ostinato, and then he harmonizes it in rhythm with all the chords above it. Just very effective. All right, I've got like 10 minutes left, and I gotta get going because I gotta make dinner for the ladies. So we're gonna finish with the last thing they did, which was really cool, which was he got tagged by Martin Scorsese to redo the Cape Fear soundtrack, which was done by Herman. And I think the reason why he got tagged to redo it was because he clearly was known in Hollywood as being able to research and adapt earlier stuff, from his abilities to spoof, his abilities to do the Westerns. Like, he had this kind of, I believe he had a rep in Hollywood, a good rep of being like, this guy can, this guy can take what you need and give you the flavor of it, but in your own way. There's a ton that he did Far From Heaven, which is another example of that, where he did it amazingly. Has he ever done not a lean orchestration? I don't know. These are the ones I'm listening to. Right now, they seem very effective, I'm talking about, like, when I think of not lean orchestration, listen to the opening of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I'm not saying it's bad orchestration, because it's actually very, very good. But it's like Ravel in the, Daphnis and Chloe, where there's just a ton of stuff going on. And you're like, wow. I mean, look, Ravel and Horner have the chops to pull it off. But when I started to learn orchestration, there were a couple guys that I kind of gravitated to. One was Silvestri. I tried Williams, but I couldn't figure out Williams for the longest time. And I still am figuring him out. But I figured out Goldsmith and I figured out Bernstein very quickly because I'm like, oh, they get to the heart of the matter very effectively, but with a lot of idea of color. So that's why I like him, you know, is because the dude can blend genres like so well. I mean, he's just yeah, I feel like he did like a good but a plagiator, like a guy who has the craft. Like I kind of like that idea, you know, of like, I love that guy being like you can give me the flavor of what I need, where it's completely inspired by that movie score that I tempt, but you're doing it in your own way, you know. So yeah, Star Trek 2, it's very cool, but it's very busy. Like when people think of Horner, they think of things like Braveheart and Titanic and Avatar, where it's like a lot leaner and a lot more kind of, not leaner, but a lot more like folksy. His early stuff, like Battle Beyond the Sea, you don't even know this. Y'all like, oh, Star Trek 2, yeah, Willow. It's like, yeah, but before that there was Battle Beyond the Stars, and there was Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, and there was Krull. So like before he was doing all those big budget stuff, he was doing these kind of second tier sci-fi movies and still doing all of his really busy orchestration. So you gotta listen to that stuff. So look, to finish this up, this is him adapting and rearranging. Oh my God, Rob, you're right. There's one, everyone says Horner, and whenever somebody mentions Aliens, I'm always like, I forgot. That's one of his best scores he's ever done. It's so dissonant and chunky and grindy, and the things he does in the prepping for landfall, where it's like those clusters down low with the double basses. It's like, oh, it's so good, Rob. I'm with you. You know what score Jason Graves, he admits it. He's like, I lifted Aliens, is Command and Conquer 4. We should do Adam. Remind me to do a video game score Farkle Friday where we look at Jason Graves stuff, because we'll do Command and Conquer, because he does some crazy dissonant stuff in there that's so chunky and awesome. And he doesn't admit it. He doesn't admit like, oh, he's like, yeah, I lifted from Aliens. Like Horner wrote a great score for Aliens and I lifted his ideas and like adapted them to my own thing. Yeah, well, just getting to Horner. I love Star Trek, Krull, Aliens, The Rocketeer, Field of Dreams. No, Krull is just Battle Beyond the Stars, or Star Trek 2 is Battle Beyond the Stars. Aliens is Battle Beyond the Stars. You're right, Adam. It's all, let's all say what we all know, which is like he had like 4 good ideas and he kept on recycling them. We all know that. So you're right. You're right. It is. Well, no, Battle Beyond the Stars and Krull are really common too. He lifted a lot of ideas from those. And Star Trek 2, those all 3 were blending, and Aliens was in there for the dissonant battle cues. Yeah, but Aliens is great. It's just when everything hit, like everything hit really well for him with his dissonance. And me, I'm always like, with Horner, I'm like, you know what, fine. He ripped himself off. He ripped off Prokofiev's Mercutio battle for the Stealing the Enterprise cue. It's so obnoxiously right. But who cares? Because I like it and it helps me be a better composer, you know? Like, and I have no career, so anything I can do to get myself better. All right, let's listen to this Cape Fear thing. This is really cool because here's a lean orchestrator adapting a lean orchestrator. Because Bernard Herrmann is very lean with his orchestration. He does not do a lot of those like flourishy stuff by and large. He has exceptions, yeah, but so check this out. Hey, does that sound familiar? Something like that was in To Kill a Mockingbird. And look what Herrmann does. He takes that cell of ideas and he passes it through the families. Right, that's now in the tremolo strings. He modulates, okay. By the way, if you say it once, say it twice, or 3 times. Yeah, so this is an adaptation of Herrmann's original music from the score, Miriam. So it's him taking a lot of Herrmann's gestures and like adapting them and arranging them. It's so good. All those. This is such a great. Oh yeah, Cedric, totally. It's got Debussy feel in it, but it's got this tense dissonance from like jazz. So it's got that like melodic minor he's using as a scale. This is a great score. The remake is a solid movie. It's a solid film. The score is great. I mean, it's not really. By the way, notice, only 42 minutes. This is back when, see, people think of wall-to-wall music back then. There's a lot of dead space back in the golden age film scores. So when the music came in, it had weight. There are chunks of Hitchcock movies where there's no music. And then when it comes in, you're like, oh, it's about to get bad, because now the emotion comes in, right? You see it in Vertigo, you can see it in Psycho. There's tons of spaces of just ambient noise and dialogue. God, Bernie Herrmann. And this is Bernstein channeling Herrmann, but so good. That's how French horn should sound. That's how brassy French horns. All right, I'm gonna pause for a second. We're gonna do one more cue, which is, I think it's either Sam Hyde's or Drive. Let me try and find it. This is it, where he does his, Elmer Bernstein does his thing with the winds with Bernie Herrmann. Tritones. You missed it, Joe Bot. We already busted the ghosts. We already already went to Dean Wormer's college, and we already went to Airplane. I gotta leave in a sec. This is subtle stuff. This is darn it. Let me think for a second. It's tremolo, but it's not colegno. I'm tired, and now I can't remember what the actual term is. Jason would know. This is probably why Bernstein did such a good job with this, because he was able to understand how Herrmann kind of passed stuff back and forth, and that was very similar to how Elmer Bernstein actually dealt with it. And notice how subtle. There was it was Sol Ponticello. That's what it was, Rob. Thank you. It was. I was like sitting here saying Colegno. I was like, no, it's not. It's the one where you bow near the actual bridge to get that hollow glass. He said it was Sol Ponticello. You're right. I'm tired and I'm 3 drinks in, and now I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But there's a hi, buddy. Okay, now everybody's coming up to say hi. So clearly the Farkle Friday is winding down. Come on up, buddy. How are you? You have not seen the Ripley in a while, have you? Hi, buddy. Come on up here. This is my dog. She's very cool. She's very cool, except when she pukes all over the place like she did in the middle of my lesson last week. Look here. Let's talk, Miriam, everybody about lean. 2 things. That little gesture. and a long, slow line. You can accomplish a lot with just 2 things. You all right, buddy? It's a hard life hanging out in your house with your family nearby and your dog hanging out. She loves Herman. Oh my God. Those concertinos, those concertino long. And by the way, check it out. You do that, you do those long, slow concertino strings slowly moving up and back, they will not block the dialogue. You can do that. If you know how to orchestrate and you are subtle, you can do things like that at a pianissimo, you can score it and play it in, and it's not gonna block the dialogue. And the director will love it because it still keeps the music in the scene and it's not interfering. I mean, there's so much about, you know, this is why you study the greats, not because of the bombastic chord goal stuff. Everyone, I'm gonna finish up with this. Everyone talks about the whole like, well, back then it was all like Gone with the Wind, like, you know, Max Steiner smashing the sound. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that you have to know, you have to have taste when to do that. But you can do stuff like that, or like what Williams did in E.T., where he has the concertino strings doing trills in the high level, where E.T. and Elliot are talking. Everybody, oh, you going over there? So you have choices that allow you to have your cake and eat it too, to write music and also have it not interfere with the sound effects and the dialogue. And when you do that, you have to have discipline and restraint, and you have to be able to do a lot with a little. And Bernstein clearly showed that he could do that, where he can say things like, you can give me a bassoon and a clarinet and I can score 2 kids planning to break out of their house and go help a convicted felon in prison. And he's able to do that for 45 seconds. Like, that's a big deal, you know? So, all right, on that, it's 5:18. I gotta get going because I gotta go get changed to not this because I have to go play at church and I have to go make dinner. But, look, this was a fun thing. We haven't listened to Bernstein in a while. Funny enough, most of you already knew most of this stuff, which is kind of cool, which is a very cool thing to know that, like, this guy is, you know, as they say, gone but not forgotten. He's not forgotten. He has a certain style, but man, as a composer, what can we take from that lesson? We can take a couple of great lessons. One is that if you can create a couple of really, really smart lines, you can accomplish a lot with a little. 2, space, 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 space. You do not have to have walls of stuff. You can dump stuff out. 3, lean orchestration. Think of the main thing, think of the other thing, and then you can build it to create a really full sound without a lot of busyness. And 4, I like the idea of like fighting against your typecast. If you get typecast with something, find ways to like fight against that in a good way and keep on finding those projects, because guess what your career is going to do? You're going to move through phases and you're going to, you know, get pigeonholed in different ways. But if you keep on staying true to yourself, oh, and the last thing is, man, study your craft, because part of how Bernstein was able to keep on evolving was it was clear he was studying Copland, he was studying 19th century, he was studying other film dudes. I mean, the fact that he got tapped with Cape Fear means he studied Herman, which was an almost contemporary of him, you know? And finally, man, don't forget to have fun, because some of his best scores are Airplane, Animal House, Ghostbusters, right? It's like, oh, that's great. All right, hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me while I have my little just listening session kind of thing. Cedric, let's get that rabbit thing going. We'll get that going at some point. That's a great idea. We'll get some quality McAllen and we'll do it right. You pick. We'll do a Bernstein movie. You guys will throw the invites out. Either you pick it. I'm up for Airplane. I'm up for Ghostbusters. I'm actually really thinking Airplane right now because it's so silly. Oh yeah, Miriam, that's a great cue. I saw it a while ago. I'm not trying to be dismissive. It's a great cue. Yeah, Rob, you got to do it. Come on, it's really great. We'll pick something and we'll just get silly with it. That cue of E.T. and Spielberg is fantastic to watch. To watch 2 artists trying to figure out how to solve a problem, and they're just listening to each other and working with each other. So, all right, I gotta go. I gotta get changed, and I gotta go be a professional musician for a while. So. Everyone, have a great weekend. And I can say it because we're in Advent, you know, and happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I will hopefully get in one more Farkle Friday right before Christmas, so that'll be cool. Thanks so much, guys. I am in the best mood, man. I forgot how much fun Elmer Bernstein is. All right, everybody, have a great night. Toodles, have a great night, everybody, and I will see you at the next Farkle Friday. Ah.